let's talk about these things. So we're going to talk about 5 ideas you can use for your vertical short form video content. These are the places they typically end up these days. And I just want to point out that we are at a unique moment in the evolution of the internet where you can have a piece of content that can fit nicely in all these spaces and really have the potential to reach a lot of people. If you are a pastor, church, faith leader, and you're not making vertical short form video content, Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, you should be. So this webinar is going to hopefully convince you to. And if you are, way to go, keep it up. We're going to talk about some of the things and reasons why you should. So these are the platforms that this stuff would live on. We're talking about some ways that you can use your content, the things you're already doing, for these spaces. So we're going to start with a little bit of just info about best practices when you're making stuff for this. And then we're really going to get to 5 specific ideas you can start doing this week for your church, your life on these places. So, okay, first to begin, when it comes to making short form vertical video content, the key is that first word, short form. Yes, TikTok lets you go up to 10 minutes, but does anyone ever watch a 10-minute video on TikTok? Maybe there's someone does, but most people don't. YouTube Shorts forces it to be 60 seconds or less. If it's 61 seconds, it is not a YouTube short. It is a YouTube long. So keep them under 60 seconds. That's why when I make these things, I always aim for 15 to 45 as a sweet spot. You may have heard of this ongoing project called Bible in a Minute, which is a minute, both because it sounds fun and because then it's the constraint that works in all the kind of spaces. But when you're making your vertical short form video content, when you're making your shorts, probably going to call them shorts just because it's easy, but I mean it for all the platforms. This is important. The first 3 seconds. That is the moment that people decide the most important thing. Do I keep watching or do I do this? You know what I mean? That's the huge psychological difference people bring to this vertical short form content category. You don't choose what to watch. You choose what to keep watching. That's also a risk. We're going to talk about that in a minute here. The algorithm has definitely stepped in and is now choosing what you will watch next. Yeah, you can have some selection. On TikTok, you can pick between your friends, the people you follow, your For You page. There's ways to have some control, but ultimately you're not picking what video among a sea of videos to watch. So that's a couple things right here. Number one, the psychology is different. It's not what do I want to start watching? It's what do I want to keep watching? What am I going to pause a second longer and then give it a tap and maybe a comment, maybe a share, that coveted share. So that means when you're making the stuff, the first 3 seconds are important. A big thing on this, it's often known as the millennial pause. Any other millennials out there? I'm an elder millennial, born on the old end of that little generational marker. And the millennial pause is where you see videos where the first moment of the video is, okay, let me talk now. And it's this gap, this silence, because we're so used to needing to hit the button and not recording right away, or something psychological, I guess. I don't know. Cut that out. Trim that even half a second out, because that is a moment of non-connection, of disconnection. One thing we do at Riverside is we try to say content first, meaning no long, slow, graphic fade in and then the person talking. No, talking right away, because people want to have the content on second 1. And really your first few seconds are the first impression on these short form content. Are they going to keep watching your content? That's a big difference. Not do I want to start watching it, do I want to keep watching? And I'm not picking which video I want to watch. I'm picking which one I want to keep watching. So there's a lot to that psychologically and practically for your videos. Start with the words. Say what you're going to say. Just a good best practice. Okay, another one, when you're making this sort of stuff, I think there are 3 things that are essential. And I've even ranked them in kind of a hierarchy. The most important thing when you are making vertical short form video content is that it's authentic. It's yours. You make the content that you can make. So you need to make authentic content. Authenticity will always be more important than production value. Production value is good. I mean, I'm using a fancy camera here with that can focus, and I got this microphone. I got some things that can add to the production value. I kind of place things behind me, but at the same time, don't let production get in the way of authenticity. Make sure you are always your most authentic authentic self. Make sure you are your most authentic self in these spaces. Authenticity is number one. When you're making short form content, that's so true. Relatability, being who you are so people can connect with the you that you are. That's true for just anything on the internet, but I think especially when we only get just the moment with each other in the short form content. Now, the next thing I'd say when you're making short form vertical video content, yes, being authentic is important, but so is being relevant. Now, this is essential because if you're talking about Christmas in July, unless you're making a joke about Christmas in July, or living in Frankenmuth, Michigan, where we have a store called Bronner's and it's Christmas all the time, it might not really work. Be relevant to what's happening in the world that we're all experiencing. When should you post your Ash Wednesday content? Not on Thursday, not on Tuesday, on Ash Wednesday. There's a specificity to it. That can be as much as, the church world, thinking liturgically, talk about the things when we're kind of experiencing them, but also just like the world at large. Is what you're creating relevant to what we are all kind of experiencing and paying attention to? That's just a general thing we should always be thinking about, but especially, again, short form. It's the 3 seconds. It's that micro time. It's that you're competing against this, and then you're gone. So, is it authentically you, and is it relevant to the time we find ourselves in right now? You're not trying to make the thing that's going to be like this is on the shelf forever. Maybe, but you're really speaking to a moment for a moment, and do that enough, and suddenly you are on a shelf forever. Okay, so I think authenticity is the most important. Being authentic, being relevant, I think is essential. And then there's a third one. My paper goes a little further. I think it's also important to be, creative. Was that a creative use of paper? Now, creativity obviously excels in these online spaces because we're just intrigued, whether that's humor, whether that's just something clever, or the way something was done. But I think if it's creativity for the sake of creativity and creativity done in an inauthentic way, yeah, you might get people engaged with it, but not at all in the same way. I think, to me, this is the hierarchy. Authenticity is the most important thing. Being relevant, not like for the sake of being hip and cool. I got a talk boy up there. That's very irrelevant in the world we live in today. But relevant meaning, does it connect to the conversation and experience we have as a shared experience living in this universe? But creativity is important. How are you going about communicating this thing? What is the way you're doing it? I put that last because it can be easy to get caught up in the creative, and then you never make a thing because you're thinking, oh, I need to produce or do this thing, or I saw that and it's so much more. Nope. That's why authenticity is first, because you can never copy someone else's authenticity. You can only discover your own. And the relevance, yeah, you can pay attention to what others are doing and how they're kind of tapping into what we're all swimming in and how we can point that out and become aware of it. So yeah, observe that and learn from that. And creativity, I think, is going to be very connected to your authenticity. I think your creative expression should still have that authentic connection to you, which, you'll do your thing and I'll do mine. And the point is that creativity is very subjective and contextual. Okay, so that's kind of some getting started on short form content. First 3 seconds are important. Be authentic, that's priority. Be relevant, that's a very good thing to be aware of. Be creative. I think to exist is to be creative, so just unleash that. And then how do you do this? How do you make this stuff? There's a whole lot of videos we could watch and make and talk about, using your phone for this or using big cameras or whatever. I'm going to tell you just this one. Boom. That's it. That's a good place to start. CapCut is an app. There's a free version. There's like a pay for a year membership version, which gives you other bonus things. It just lets you make the videos. It's kind of very similar to TikTok. Does TikTok own it? They might. I don't know. That's a whole other question. I should know that. I don't know that. It's great. I like it because it feels like TikTok. I think it might have a connection to TikTok, but it's not, which means I can make the video there and export the video and then upload it to all the places without branding from a platform on it. Yes, you can download your TikTok video before you publish it, but you have to remember to do that before you go to the publish screen, which I remember like 1% of the time. So if I use CapCut, I find it a little bit easier to just have the stuff saved there. There's even a desktop version of CapCut, so you could even do editing on your laptop as well as your mobile device. And I'm not sponsored by them at all. I just actually paid for the year membership thing to try out some features I wanted to try out. It's pretty reasonable, but I think it's a good way to think about making content so you can really put your content in all the places. Yeah, you can make content in-app. You can create it in those platforms, which is great. If that's what you're doing, do it. I don't want to have anything get in the way between you and your content and what you're producing, what you're making, what you're creating, what you are sharing with the world. But I do think that a platform like CapCut is really helpful. So it's worth checking out. Give it the free download and try it out at least. Simple way to go. But now, that's our little front end, how to think about all this short form stuff. Let's get to the ideas. You came here for the ideas, right? That's why you're watching this video. 5 ideas. Here they are. 5 ideas that you could do, that I think you should do, at least some of them, for short form vertical video content, TikTok Reels Shorts. Number 1. Oh, my transition. Oh, my papers got stuck together. Try it again. Number 1. After the amen. Another amen. I can read my words. Another amen. Now, this is what I mean by that. You preached the sermon. You did a great job. You spent hours writing the thing. You stood up, you delivered it. It was live streamed. That's great. Maybe even you have a team or yourself or somebody or whatever that even takes then that recording and takes just the sermon itself and publishes that on YouTube. Fantastic. Give it a good title and a thumbnail. Now what? You done? No. If you're a pastor and you're thinking, I don't know what to say on the internet, you stand up every week, most every week, and you say stuff. I think a simple thing we should all be doing is taking moments from our sermons. You've said a lot of great things. Now repurpose some of that into 1, 2, 3 short form vertical videos that you can drop online in all the places. You're already doing the work. Do a little bit more and you can get a little more out of the sermon. Now, I don't think the point of those shorts is to encourage people to watch the long. I don't think the primary purpose is to create some sort of a marketing funnel of you start with the short and then you watch the full video and then you come to the church and then you give us money. No. I think the purpose of creating the sermon short is to give people a reimagined experience of what a sermon could be. You're creating a 15 to 45 to 60 second sermonic experience right there. Now, how do you find those clips? Couple ways. Number 1, you can use things like opus.ai, opus.pro. I think it's opus.pro. That's a platform. Again, there's a cost to it. But it kind of, you upload your video or you point to it from YouTube and it kind of identifies what it thinks are some good short form clips. Confession, we use this at Riverside for all the sermon shorts you see coming from Riverside. Even most of the shorts coming from The Word Made Fresh, a video series I do with our senior minister talking about upcoming narrative lectionary passages. Those are from Opus. We just drop it in. It gives you like 10 to 15 suggestions. Then we pick our favorite ones and then we publish those. Sometimes I do craft content with the short in mind. Ooh. Did you catch that? You don't just do the thing with the long in mind. I do this on The Word Made Fresh where I'll have us do little sermon writing games at the end. And I had Reverend Thorne see if she could preach her sermon in 1 sentence. She did a great job. She didn't know I was going to ask her to do that. And I was like, I am clipping that. I'm asking her this question, knowing I'm going to clip that. Maybe when you're writing a sermon, you craft sections knowing this is a 45-second section and it stands alone and it sits in the whole. So you can do both. You can take a sermon and then drop it into a platform and it can help find those moments. Now, Opus is really slick because it like does the framing for you and like will actually follow a person and do the captioning. And it's pretty impressive what it can do. Scary, maybe? It's impressive. Now, but if you go about writing your sermon, crafting the content with that short in mind, now we're at a whole new level. So that's number 1. Number 1 is another amen. Don't let the sermon be the last amen. Give it another amen. Give it a sermon short or 2, maybe 3. Okay, let's go to number 2 because I got 5 things. I want to go through them all. Number 2. I've never seen this before. That before? I really can't read through my paper. I've never seen that before. Now, this idea, what I mean is if you're a pastor at a church, there are probably parts of that church that most people don't go to. Could you use that as kind of a, hey, let's show you something you don't see. Let me share something kind of unique. That creepy part of the church basement, that messy closet that has all the art supplies from VBS. Let's have, what are we going to find in the closet with Pastor Phil? One thing we do at Riverside, we're, a unique church with big architecture and a big bell tower. We like to do things in the bell tower. I've done series up there where I go live from the bell tower and interview people. Most recently, someone from our communications team, she has a music background. She was in the bell tower. She went to the carillon, which is like the big piano thing you play with your fists to ring the bells, like so you can play the bells like you're playing a piano. And she went up there. She made a video where she's playing the riff to "Hot to Go" by Chapel Roan. Dun 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 dun. That one. And her caption was, when you accidentally type Chapel Roan instead of Chapel Roan, because Chapel Roan is spelled differently if it's the artist. So it was a joke, play on words. That video has over 1 million views, which is not entirely unexpected because it's tapping into something relevant. Her song and the artist is very popular. It's creative. It's this mashup of a song you typically hear in one context, queer pop, and done on a church carillon. And it was authentic, because the best part is Marissa, who made the video, they are authentically themselves and playing it in this great thumbs up at the end. And it's just so fun. But I think also what it does is it shows a unique aspect of Riverside's building, of our space. I've never seen that before. I bet people have heard the song before, but they've never seen a carillon or heard it play. So you might not have a carillon, you might not have a bell tower. That's okay. What is the thing that is just like unknown or unexplored? Just make a little 45-second video checking it out. Go wander and explore a thing. I just think that's an opportunity, very contextual, that not only your congregants might like, but you might have a whole world who suddenly is like, this is really interesting. So, okay, that's number 2. We're gonna get ourselves to number 3. Oh, I can read this one. I read it. I know what it says. Once upon a song. Oh, okay. So this is an idea that really does 2 things. Number 1, the concept here is tell the story behind a song we're going to sing on Sunday. Give us the little bit of the, you're working 45 seconds, but give us like the history. What is it about this hymn, this song that we could connect with? Now, my idea here is to say, you're already picking hymns, picking songs for Sunday. Tell people why. Don't make it some secret. Tell us the story behind that song. What is the connection that you personally have with it? At Riverside, we found out on Monday that the day before, our organist had played a choral prelude that he had been dreaming about playing at Riverside since he was 14 years old. And then this past Sunday, he got to play it. It's like, wait, why didn't we know this story going in? That would have changed the way I even experienced that piece of music. So just invite people to understand the story. Why'd you pick that song? Why is that song significant at all on this day? This is a thing you're already doing. And then you can just take a little bit of time, we're talking short form video here, and suddenly it's a meaningful piece of content. Imagine just you with the hymnal, talking about the song. It can be incredibly, incredibly simple, but this is an idea I think we should all be doing. Just takes a moment, but I think it could have a huge, huge impact. Once upon a song. What's the story behind the song? Okay, number 4. Oh, I like this one. Pages are stuck. Your inner Carl Barth. Oh, you like the picture there? Hey, Carl. Now, Karl Barth is very famous for a lot of things, but one is saying that we preach with the Bible in one hand and the newspaper in the other. He was into that relevant thing. What are we all experiencing and talking about? Now, this is basically that. Literally, what are the headlines and how can you talk about them? The trick is, on social, you could do it with like a literal newspaper. That could be a fun little trope to be like, hello, what does the New York Times? That'd be cool. I was thinking this more where these short form platforms, CapCut's great at this because it's built in. They all have some version of it where you can like have a green screen effect where you take an image and it's then green screen behind you. This is not a green screen. That's my actual bookshelf. But you can have it where it films it and there's the image behind it. So you could take a headline, take an article that you read, screenshot it, and then you open up CapCut or whatever, and you go to the green screen thing, and you drop it in, and so you are now in front of the article. You've probably seen these videos. And then you could talk about it. So that does a couple things. It's a little more creative, it's a little more contextual to the app, it's a little more engaging just because I'm not just, look at the newspaper thing. I like that idea now that I talk about it. But the point here is, you are, I think, aware of what's happening in the world. And if you are a pastor, a faith leader, you have a very unique set of skills. To quote Liam Neeson, you have a very unique set of skills in the way that you are kind of attuned to see the world around us with this theological, this pastoral, this, dare we say, prophetic point of view. So offer that point of view. How do you read these events pastorally? I mean, imagine a pastor reflecting on like the pastoral response to a second presidential assassination. Regardless of your politics, that's something we should be talking about. I think we are uniquely equipped to talk about that as pastors. So it's not a matter of saying just we're hitting the progressive headlines. I think it's just engage the conversations and bring what you bring. And it's a simple way to summon your inner Karl Barth and do what you do. So, yeah. I see Carl in you. I don't know where that came from. Okay. Number 5, last but not least. Boom, 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 boom. A collaborative Q&A. Now, this is a new idea I just came up with to share with you. Because I was like, what are 5 ideas that I think we could all actually do? Not big ideas, not crazy, not like only works for one of us, but things that could work for all of us. So I'm calling this a collaborative Q&A. Now, here's my idea for this. I might start doing this at Riverside. We should all start doing it. Say you got your sermon coming on Monday. Figure out one question that kind of connects to the sermon you're going to be preaching. Text it to a dozen congregants. Hey, can you record a 10-second video answering this question? Maybe tell them what you're going to do with it. Collect those videos, and then you have a video of you asking the question. Then you have these videos of your congregants giving their answers. That's the collaborative part. And then at the end you say, love to hear what you think. Leave a comment below. Join us on Sunday, whatever you want the call to action to be. But the idea is it's not just you talking. How can you have easy ways to invite others to participate in this? And this particular thing of a question related to the sermon you're preaching in 7 days, you're already doing the work for the sermon. If you haven't thought of like a framing question yet, we'll talk about homiletics and sermon writing later, I guess. I think it's just a way of increasing and enhancing all the work you're doing. And think about those congregants who participate. How much more engaged and invested will they be in that week coming up to that Sunday? So this is all just ways to help prime people to be more connected, more engaged, and hopefully be simple things that we can all do to make all this short form stuff be less about just mindless scrolling and how is the algorithm entertaining me, and more intentional faith formation for us, the creators, the pastors, but also for anyone who's connected along the way. So there you have it. All my things. 5 ideas for how to make short form content for the internet. Have fun, and leave a comment with your where your account is so I can follow you. I want to see what you're up to. Whatever platform, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. Where are you publishing your shorts, your reels, your TikToks? I wanna know. So do the thing, doobly-doo, and we'll all have fun following each other.